everyone, it's Brianna Trusty, your very trusty source, and I'm back with a brand new episode of my series, Straight from the Source. If you're new here, first of all, hello. Go ahead and hit the subscribe button. And if you're already a subscriber, hit that notification bell because trust me, you won't want to miss a second. This week I had the opportunity to sit down with Dancing with the Stars pro dancer Britt Stewart, and we talked about everything from her High School Musical days to what it really took to become a Dancing with the Stars pro, to a Hush Hush project that's coming very soon. All that and more, and it starts right now. Alrighty, well, so nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you too.
Thank you for sitting down for this chat. I know you're super busy.
Well, you know what's funny is recently I have been busy and it's like nonstop. And it's one of those moments where you're like, keep it coming. I'm so here for the momentum, but okay, just find some balance.
Yes. Speaking of that momentum, I mean, you these days are like so well known in the dance world. Your face is everywhere from TV to movies, and obviously everyone has to get their start somewhere, and you just so happen to get your start on the set of High School Musical. How did you land that gig that kind of kickstarted your career in a huge way?
You know what? It is the most serendipitous story. It was the epic tale of right time, right place. And I was 15 years old and I grew up in the competition and convention world, which as a young dancer. And so I was at a national dance competition in New York. And one of the choreographers for the High School Musical movies, Bonnie Story, she has a daughter and that's the same age as me. And we were competing together and we met in New York. And we happened to be on the same subway train headed to our individual hotels at the end of it, like a long rehearsal night. And she came up to my mom and I, and she basically said, I know this might sound crazy, but I'm filming a movie this summer in Salt Lake City with Kenny Ortega, and we are looking for one more dancer, and you're perfect for this role.
I mean,
and she was like, you can come to Salt Lake. You would have to come straight from New York. She was like, you can stay with me and my girls and my family. And that's how it happened. So I flew straight from New York to Salt Lake City. I danced for Kenny, and then he was like, okay, you're in the movie. And that was really the beginning of my career.
I mean, you couldn't write it any better than that. Like, that is like a fairy tale start. And just to start on that movie, I mean, while you were filming it, did you have any idea that it was going to be the cultural phenomenon that it has become?
No idea. And you know what's so funny is during the first movie, no one did. Disney Channel, I think, had given Kenny a very small budget. I think we were only in production for 6 weeks. It just happened in a blink of an eye. And then when it came out, I think it came out almost a year later, and it just turned into this phenomenon. And it really was at the perfect time. That's when in the entertainment industry, musicals were starting to come back. Dance was starting to become much more prevalent on television and in film. And it just was like, you know, like how I got discovered to be on the movie. It was right time for destiny. It was destined.
I mean, how amazing is it to kind of start? What was it like to have that momentum? I mean, going from High School Musical 1, 2, 3 to start your career, what was that like? I'm sure it was like a whirlwind at some point.
You know what? It was a whirlwind, but I give credit to my parents because I was only 15. I was still just a regular kid, and then happened to be working in the dance industry. and you know, neither of my parents are in the entertainment industry, and neither of them are dancers. They're both very creative, but they're business people. And so it was very new to our family, which I'm almost grateful for because we didn't get caught up in it. It was just like, this is cool. This is really cool, you know? And so I was still in high school doing High School Musical. And it worked out. I was also going to a performing arts school. So they were very flexible with my schedule and allowing me to travel for work and to, take an extended amount of time away from school and do online schooling and that whole thing. So
that's cool. I mean, even like you were dancing with stars before they were stars, before Dancing with the Stars. And I mean, that's kind of been your evolution. Even before Dancing with the Stars, you've been touring and performing with celebrities like Rihanna and Katy Perry and Selena Gomez and Lovato. Was there ever a moment, like a gig or a shoot or anything that you kind of like thought to yourself, I think I've made it at this point?
what's so funny is no. No, I don't think so. I think I feel like I'm always just reaching for not necessarily more, but to learn more and to always just keep topping myself and whatever that means for me. It's interesting what you said, like in High School Musical, working with them before they were the cast, before they were stars of their own. And it's just so cool to look back. And we were all kids just having a good time, and we happened to be filming a movie. And so, I think that's really that tone I've taken with me through my entire career. It's just like, I'm experiencing life and this happens to be my experience, and it's really cool. And I will say though, before Dancing with the Stars, my job before that was with Katy Perry. I was with her for 3 years, and I am so grateful to have been with her at the time that I was, because we did some amazing things. We did the Super Bowl. That Prismatic tour was just epic, and I'm so grateful that I got to be with her during that time. But I will say towards the end of that experience with her was when I kind of did a reflection of my career up until that point. And I had that moment when I was like, I think I've reached a lot of my goals.
Yeah.
This is pretty cool. Just kind of going through and having a moment of reflection. And that's when I was like, okay, I'm not finished dancing, but I'm ready for a challenge. I'm ready for a shift, something to shake things up. And then Dancing with the Stars happened a few months later, and it was a challenge, and it was a shake up in the best way, the most positive change and excitement and challenge I could have ever asked for.
Yeah, I mean, like you said, just hearing your career is something in of itself. I mean, High School Musical, Katy Perry, Dancing with the Stars. Not a lot of people realize like how long they think you might have just popped up on Dancing with the Stars season 29, but it was such a journey to get there. Tell me how you got involved with that in the first place, right off Katy Perry's tour.
Yeah, you're so right. People do think it just happened. High School Musical was in 2005. So it's been over a decade. It's been 16 years in the industry, really. So after Katie's tour, it was like another High School Musical moment, to be honest with you. After Katie's tour, I was working on a job with Mandy Moore, who used to be a producer and the supervising choreographer of Dancing with the Stars. And I was on a job with her, and it was Disney's 60th anniversary. And it was on ABC, and Derek Huff was hosting. He was hosting and performing that TV special. And in rehearsal, his partner, which actually was Whitney, was on her honeymoon because she had just gotten married. And so she wasn't in rehearsal. And we were about to film the rehearsal to send to like all the executives, Dancing with the Stars, ABC, because everyone needs to sign off on approvals of the dance. And I was in my beginning position, like ready to start. And Mandy Moore was like, Britt, at the end for the final partnering section, go dance with Derek. And she was like, okay, hit it. The music. And I was like, we had never danced together. It was just, and I just had to turn it on, and I just had to do it. And from there, that's when the producers of Dancing with the Stars saw me dance, and they're like, who's that? Dancing with Derek. And then that's how I got my audition. And then I think after the audition, I got asked to be on Troop, I think it was like 4 or 5 months later. So it was quite a long time after I had auditioned.
Right. Okay. Yeah. I mean, that's certainly something to be thrown into. Just all right and go. But clearly you made it work, impressed a lot of people. But I think I've seen that you started your Dancing with the Stars career with like not any formal ballroom training. Is that correct? So
That's correct.
was there like a big learning curve for you for that, or did it come pretty naturally?
It was a massive learning curve. I had some experience. So just with the training of my dance training growing up and for being in LA and in the industry for so long, I had experience with partnering, and I would say more like social dance and the fake it till you make it kind of ballroom dance. And then when I got onto Dancing with the Stars, they hired me knowing that I was not formally and officially trained ballroom dancer. And when I got onto the show, I immediately took on the challenge and I started training. And I was in lessons. I'm still in lessons, to be honest with you, because you can always keep learning and you can always keep developing your craft. But I immediately started training. And then after my first season, I started competing in Latin as well, because I was like, if I'm going to do this, I'm going to really do it. And I'm dancing next to world champions. So out of respect for my peers and for the art form, I have to know what this feels like.
Well, you faked it till you made it. You made it now. You were with the troupe for years. You joined the show on tour. Did you keep coming back hoping like, okay, if they see my face enough, they might just extend that audition to be a pro dancer?
Yes. Yeah, that was the goal. I think for the first few seasons on Troop, I was just there to learn. I was just there to be there and to experience the show and the magic of the show and to learn. And then I think towards the end of my experience on Troop is when I was like, okay, I'm going to manifest this. I want to be a pro on Dancing with the Stars. This is the next level in my career that I want to step into and to achieve.
Yeah. Were you ever sitting there like, oh, I don't know. I've been here a little while now. I don't know if this is going to happen.
Of course. I did. Yeah. And yes, I 100% did. And I re-auditioned to be a pro. And that was before season 28. And then I didn't get asked to be a pro. And then it just so happened that season they got rid of Troop as well. And so I really, I kind of like emotionally and mentally, I moved on from Dancing with the Stars because I was like, okay, if this is not meant for me, then it's not meant for me. And if it is, it'll come back around. And so that next year, I really just spent on developing other aspects of my career. And I was still like slightly involved in the world of DWTS. I was the associate supervising choreographer on that winter tour. And so I was still kind of like in the mix, but I think I had definitely written off the possibility that being a pro might not happen for me. Yeah. And then I got the call and then I was like mind blown.
Yeah, I wanted to ask you about that. I mean, was it almost sweeter to get that phone call after knowing you had worked for it and then kind of been like, okay, I don't know about this. What was it like? What was going through your mind when you got that phone call?
Oh yeah. I mean, I am a complete believer that everything happens at the exact right time. And when I got that call, I was like, this is the right time. This is exactly what it's meant to be. And I think that all of the experiences that I had in that year off from Dancing with the Stars, it was exactly what I needed to be prepared to step into that role.
Yeah. Well, I mean, when that August 2020 announcement came, like everyone was like, I know, through the roof, so excited for you. But before that, people had actually formed up a petition on change.org. There were over like 2,000 supporters. What did it mean to you to kind of have that support behind you? I mean, there are fans, and then there are fans who are willing to put together a whole petition.
I know. It's these two wonderful girls, And they're huge Dancing with the Stars fans, and they've been a huge support of me too. And they started the petition, and then people started reaching out to me. They're like, have you seen that there's a petition for you to become a pro? And I had no idea. And then it's just, I mean, it's so heartwarming, and I'm so grateful that that is something that happened. I don't know, it's still kind of like, I sometimes pinch myself because it's like, oh, that's so cool.
No, it's really neat. I mean, and then, I mean, it was helpful for that, but obviously your hard work in and of itself spoke for itself clearly. When you signed on, did the longtime pros, did they give you any tips and tricks?
Oh yeah. I think it's helpful that I was on Troop for 5 seasons before. So I was already entering into a family that I knew and that I already considered family. So the support that I got around my fellow pros, it was amazing. And everybody, they just, you know, they were just reassuring me to be myself and to be confident that I was prepared, and that's really it, and to not second guess the choices that I wanted to make. And that's really empowering. They were just so empowering and so supportive, and it was really awesome to have that support.
Well, you entered your first season guns a-blazing. Looking back, now that it's all over, the dust has settled, what was the moment you're most proud of during your first season?
Oh my gosh. Do I have to pick one moment?
You have a couple. You can share a couple. I know that can be hard.
Yeah, it's so hard. I mean, I don't know what I did to deserve Johnny Weir for my first season. I mean, the whole experience in itself was just amazing. I think before the season, people are like, who do you think you're going to get paired with? Who, like, what kind of star do you want? And I said that, to be honest, I didn't really care what kind of celebrity it was, just that I wanted a partner that was open to the experience and that was committed and hardworking. And boy, did I get that and more. I mean, he was just absolutely wonderful. And we had, not only was he amazing and he was committed to the process, but we had so much fun. We laughed every single day. We totally bonded. It was amazing.
That's what's important. Like, win, lose, like having that bond, like that's something that like is invaluable, obviously.
I know.
So,
yes, it is.
Such a good first season, such a good, strong start. But for you, going from being a Troop member, a tour dancer, what was the biggest like adjustment you had to do, kind of taking center stage for season 29?
I think the biggest adjustment was taking on exactly what my fellow pros advice was. It was just being really confident in that I have had this extensive career and that I have all the tools to be what that position requires me to be. And, you know, sometimes it's so interesting. I think in the entertainment industry, I've learned to be an extrovert, but really, like, naturally I'm an introvert. And so for me, sometimes like the stress and the pressure and like always being on camera, I think that was a little bit of an adjustment. But as soon as exactly what I said, took on that advice from my fellow pros, I just sat into it. And really, there's only, I think, few times in life where you feel like all the stars have aligned and I am exactly where I am meant to be. And that's the feeling that I had. And so I just trusted that and then I went for it.
Well, before, during, after your season, you got asked quite a bit what it was like for you to be the first Black female pro dancer on the show. But what do you think it meant to the next generation to see you on their screen and to see someone who looked like them?
Oh, I think it means everything. I think that's saying a lot, but I think it means everything. First of all, it was such an honor to be the first Black female pro, and being a part of the show prior to taking on that position. Dancing with the Stars and ABC has always celebrated diversity. I always felt welcome and celebrated for all parts of me, not just being a Black female, even though I did feel celebrated in that way, but all parts, my dancing, everything, me as a performer, as a human. And, you know, they also had always a diverse celebrity cast as well. It's always been diverse, but I think having, you know, representation in your pro lineup is just as important, because really they are the pros. We are the brand of Dancing with the Stars. We are the through line. And I think for me, it's for those like little Black girls that dream about being dancers, that they can look and see me in that position and say, oh my gosh, I am just enough. I don't have to be a celebrity. I don't have to be something other than what I want to be in a prevalent role. And so, yeah, it means a lot. And I still feel so honored that I'm the person to have that role. It's really cool.
Well, speaking of that, inspiring the next generation, the diversity, you actually recently launched a nonprofit that kind of speaks to those things called Share the Movement. Talk to me a little bit about that.
So what's so crazy is we started working on Share the Movement before I even found out that I was going to be the first Black female pro. It was like one of those moments, all the stars aligned, and it was like, wait, I'm already doing this. And now I'm actually going to be a direct representation of our mission. And it was really cool. So Share the Movement, we've been working on it for about a year now, all created over Zoom because of COVID and, you know, the times that we're living in now. And which is also insane. We started a business. We formed an organization over Zoom. It's really cool. But our mission is to increase diversity in the professional dance industry by providing financial, educational, and inspirational support to young BIPOC dancers. So basically, we want to start at a foundational level, and we're not looking for quick change. We're looking to really walk alongside the next generation to create that change for a much more long-term effect.
Very cool. I mean, being the president of a nonprofit, it's nothing light to take on. It's like it's a pretty big responsibility. So what kind of was like the catalyst? I know you said you started it like a year ago. So what was the catalyst for really like, okay, I'm definitely going to do this and I'm doing it right now?
Yeah, so actually, our executive director, Kate Harpoolian, it's her baby. It was her concept. She grew up in a nonprofit dance studio, and her dance studio owner was basically doing this. And so she saw a system that was already working, that was already successful. And she took her studio, and then her fellow friend and longtime dance partner, his name is Daniel Gaiman, and she basically took his story and turned it into our organization. And so through there, we had dance, I would say like dance community Zooms, discussions, just open discussions. And it was with our board and fellow dance community members saying, this is our mission. This is what we want to do. This is our full program that we want to launch. Poke holes. What are your thoughts? How do you feel about diversity in the dance community as it is right now? And what do you think it needs to help support that, to help that evolution happen? And through those meetings, it just slowly began to evolve. And it started out with just 4 of us on the board. And then now we're up to 8 people on the board. And now we have a community, which is basically our ambassadors, who are a representation of the BIPOC community already working in the dance industry. And I don't think that there was ever a moment like, oh, we're doing this, until we launched. And then and then all of us were like, oh my gosh, the world is going to know what we've been working on this entire time. And it's going to be really awesome. So I would say it was this gradual evolution the whole time that brought us to our launch. And we already felt like we were doing the work before. And then now that we're doing it, it's just so it's just so amazing, and it's just making our dreams even bigger. We've already started to fund, I think we now have 6 dancers that we funded for or provided scholarships for summer dance programs this summer. And it's so inspiring. Every time we meet, every time we encounter a new generation young BIPOC dancer, it's just like, it motivates us to just keep moving forward.
Yeah. So, I mean, as you move forward, what do you kind of hope? What's the a tangible but long-term goal that you have for the organization or that you guys have talked about thus far?
Yes. So next year in 2022, we'll be launching our full program where we partner with a dance studio somewhere in North America, and we would support a young BIPOC dancer within that community. Maybe they're getting dance training at a performing arts school or a boys and girls club or an after school dance program, and they don't have the access, the opportunity, or the means to take their dance training further, but they have all the potential to. We would partner with the dance studio, and we would fully fund, we would provide everything that that child needs to support their dance training. The goal would be to start that relationship with Share the Movement at 6th grade, and then walk alongside them all the way for 13 years. So after they graduate high school and into that next transitional year, wherever they want to go, move to LA, New York, go to school, whatever they want to do, we would support them in that transition year. And so we would financially support them. We would be a support for their family as well, because that brings on a whole other level. A lot of, especially we're finding in diverse communities, a lot of families are just not knowledgeable about what it means to be a professional dancer and the abundance that it can have. And so a lot of times diverse dancers don't always have the support from families. So we would love to educate everybody on what it means to be a professional dancer. And then through our community members, we'll also have a mentorship program. So every child we scholarship and fund, they will also get a mentor as a direct reflection of what they dream to be as a professional dancer.
Oh, that all sounds awesome. That's so exciting. Oh, wow. So you have like your 2022, you are already like mapping that out. You have things to do.
Oh yeah.
Do you have any time for anything else? Are there any other projects that you have in the works that fans should be staying tuned for?
Well, Share the Movement was a huge project. I am still in the midst of it all. I am still working in the industry as well. I can't speak too much about it, but I have been training an actress for an upcoming musical that's being filmed this summer. So that's been really exciting. And I've been hush hush because, like I said, I can't go into many details about it. But I don't know when I'll be able to share more information about that, but hopefully sooner than later. And outside of that, just still developing my dance education experience and what that looks like for me. And if anybody is ever in Las Vegas, I just choreographed for a show. It's called the Mayfair Supper Club. It's in the Bellagio. It's an experience. It's dinner and a show, and it is so fun. So if you're ever in Las Vegas, go check it out because you'll see my choreography. And then other than that, just waiting to find out about next season.
Okay, so that's still in the works potentially as well. Okay.
Yes.
So
Yes.
Renewed for season 30. So if you were to take the stage in a mystical, magical dream world, who would be the celebrity that you would want to take to the end and win that mirror ball?
Oh my gosh. You know what? I get asked this all the time, and I don't really know because I still kind of have that thing of like, I just want someone that's like so committed and just a good human. I mean, here's the thing. Anybody that has previous dance training is a plus. Like, I don't know, like a pop star, like Justin Timberlake would be like my ultimate dream, but I don't think he would ever do the show.
I mean, all the things that have been manifested in your life. I mean, I think if you just put it out into the universe, there's a good chance it might happen.
You know what, too? Did you recently see that video of LeBron James doing the salsa? He was like fake teaching a salsa class.
Yeah.
I'm just saying, what if I got paired with LeBron James?
That would
Could
be
you imagine?
We're gonna have to tune in. Fans are gonna have to pay attention because I mean, Justin Timberlake, LeBron James, they might be calling their names soon. Who knows?
They might be.
Awesome. Well, thank you again, Britt, for sitting down with me. This was so fun.
Oh, of course. Thank you so much. I'm so happy that we could connect.
Yes. All right. Well, thank you again, and I hope you have a great rest of your day.
Thank you. You too.
Bye.
Bye.